Welcome to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio. Researched and written in Indianapolis by Adrian Peterson and produced in studios of Shortwave WRMI in Miami. I'm Michael Mendez, sitting in for Jeff White, who has a bad case of laryngitis this week. You know how the weather in Miami is. We hope he gets well real soon and he's with us again next week. Last week at the end of the program, we mentioned a special topic, new radio publications in the next program. Two of these have not yet arrived. We'll present in Wavescan when they arrive. On Wavescan, 72nd Anniversary International Encounter on the High Seas, Part 3. HSK Cormoran and HMAS Sydney, the radio scene. Ancient DX Report, 1906, and Philippine DX Report. In two previous editions of Wavescan, we have presented the story of the chance encounter on the high seas in the Indian Ocean of the coast of Western Australia between the German raider HSK Cormoran and the Australian light cruiser HMAS Sydney. This firefight took place on Wednesday afternoon on November 19, 1941, just 72 years ago. As a result of a fierce battle lasting just 1 hour, both ships sank with a total loss of life for the Sydney and a little less than 100 casualties for the Cormoran. Over the years, because of the poignancy of these tragic circumstances, several searches by sea and by air have been made in an attempt to locate the wrecks of both ships lying on the sea bottom. During March 2008, both of the Cormoran and the Sydney were located by David Mearns aboard the search vessel SV Geosounder. The wreckage of the two ships lie about 12 miles apart, 130 miles of the Western Australian coastline, out from Shark Bay and Carnarvon, at a depth of 1.5 miles. The Cormoran broke apart with two large pieces, 3/4 mile apart, and a large oval-shaped debris filled in between. The bow of the Sydney broke off, although the main hull sits on the seabed upright. Official inquiries into the fate of the Sydney and the Cormoran have brought to light many reports of radio messages from both ships on that tragic day in 1941. More than a dozen radio messages have been reported, and some people claim to have heard voice messages, while others lay claim to having heard messages in Morse code. Some of these reports indicate that genuine radio transmissions were indeed heard, while the reports from others are considered to be spurious. For example, a group of 5 people in the Esplanade Hotel in Geraldton, Western Australia, heard a strong transmission in Bose mode on 24.5 meters. That's 12245 kilohertz, with reference to a coming Morse message. This message was heard on a standard radio receiver, and research would suggest that this signal was actually a breakthrough transmission from nearby Geraldton Radio, VIN, with subsequent information about the HMAS Sydney from Sydney Radio, VIS, not the ship Sydney itself. A similar report came from nearby Port Gregory, where members of the Rupp family heard a breakthrough transmission, while the voice reports came from Fremantle Radio near Perth, also from Hobart in Tasmania, and from Singapore and from continental Africa. Reports of Morse code reception from the Sydney came from several different locations, including 3 different locations in Western Australia, and also from Singapore and from the British Navy radio station at Kilindini in Kenya, Africa. The most notable of these Morse code reports came from Hetty Collins, a 16-year-old English girl serving as a cipher clerk with the British Navy in Singapore. She claimed to have translated a cipher signal that was sent from the Sydney in Morse code. However, The contents of the message and the timings indicate that her report is incorrect. A careful analysis of all of these already mentioned radio transmissions from the Sydney and the Cormoran indicate that all of them seem to be inaccurate due to timings and content. It has been suggested that the German supply ship Cumberland was in Morse code contact with its compatriot Cormoran during the battle, although this is also totally unsubstantiated. It should be noted that the Sydney carried 5 radio transmitters, 4 on the ship and 1 in the Walrus plane, and all of them for Morse code only. It is clearly demonstrated that there was no voice transmitter aboard the Sydney. The Cormoran carried 2 Morse code transmitters and 4 receivers. So, what are considered to be the genuine transmissions associated with these 2 armed and aggressive vessels? We take all these proven transmissions in chronological order, all of them in the year 1941, and all times in local time. November 11, Tuesday at 13:32, last wireless transmission from Sydney just before leaving Fremantle on escort duty with the Australian transport ship SS Sealandia. Sydney maintained radio silence from this time onwards, no subsequent transmissions whatsoever. November 19, Wednesday, 1703, Cormoran sends spurious message in Morse code, Q, 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 indicating suspected disguised raider, and gave its own false identity as the Dutch cargo vessel Strat Malacca, 200-watt signal on 500 kilohertz. November 19th, Wednesday at 17:05. Repeat of same message. This message was heard by Perth Radio VIP Applecross, and also by Geraldton Radio VIN, and also by the tugboat UCO. VIN reception very poor and without full detail. VIN asked for further information from other ships also, but no further messages. Tugboat ST UCO Adelaide Steamship Company in Fremantle also expressed similar poor and partial reception. At the time, it was more than 100 miles southwest of the combat zone, en route from Darwin to Fremantle. Captain Theodore Detmers aboard Cormoran expresses surprise that Sydney does not talk with Cormoran by radio in Morse code. He was not aware that the Sydney was under radio silence. November 19th, Wednesday, 17:30. Barrage from Sydney hit Cormoran radio shack. November 23rd, Sunday. Navy headquarters orders Sydney to break radio silence and give battle details. All shortwave communications stations ordered to attempt contact with Sydney. November 24th, Monday. British tanker Truckus picks up some survivors, gives radio report regarding battle events. From this time onwards, it was progressively known throughout Australia, and thus throughout the world, the tragic events of the fierce conflict between HSK Cormoran and HMAS Sydney, a battle that was fought in radio silence on the high seas, and which both sides lost and neither side won.
You're listening to Wavescan from Adventist World Radio. Send your comments and reception reports to Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the United States. That's Wavescan, Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229 in the USA. Or you can email us at wavescan@awr.org. Our email once again, wavescan@awr.org.
Now, our ancient DX report for 1906. During the year 1906, the ether was fairly buzzing with the Morse code signals from wireless station located on land all around the world, as well as on board ships in all 7 of the world's great oceans. In fact, the first edition of a wireless directory was published by the United States Navy on October 1st of 1906 under the title Wireless Telegraph Stations of the World, and this directory is considered to be the very first comprehensive listing of official stations ever published. By taking account from all available sources, it is estimated that there were more than 500 official wireless stations on land in more than 70 different countries, well over 1,000 on board ships. These listings are for official stations only, and there were an additional uncounted number of other stations on the air as well, including many amateur stations for which licensing was not required at that time. Perhaps there was somewhere around 3,000 wireless stations on the air during this era. During the year 1906, 3 notable inventions altered the flow of wireless radio development. General Dunwoody of the American Army invented the crystal detector, now known widely as the cat's whisker, which enabled tuned radio reception. Lee DeForest patented a 3-element radio tube or bulb, the Audion as he called it, though opening the way for a much wider usage of the vacuum tube in radio development. Archie Collins patented voice transmissions via an electric arc. An important wireless conference took place in Berlin during the year, beginning on October 2nd, with 100 delegates from 23 countries participating. At this convention, the usage of the new emergency code was adopted, replacing the previous CQD. The name radio was also adopted, replacing the earlier term wireless. At this convention, a list of international call sign prefixes was drawn up, and letters of the alphabet were allocated to each country. For example, wireless stations' call signs beginning with the letter G indicated Great Britain, the letter J indicated Japan, the letters N and W indicated the United States. We should note also that the Telefunken Company established a wireless station near Nauen, in a swampland area, some 25 miles northwest of Berlin during this year. This station at Nauen is still on the air today with the programming of Adventist World Radio, including our DX program, Wavescan, which is heard from this station every Sunday at 1530 UTC on 11750 kHz, 250 kilowatts. In addition, our sister DX program in the Italian language is also heard from Nauen each Sunday, 1000 UTC on 9610 kHz at 100 kilowatts. The most intense usage of wireless anywhere in the world during the year 1906 took place in the United States, where it is recorded that more than 100 stations were on the air operated by the Navy and the Army, and also by several different commercial organizations. In order to establish a flow of communication after the devastating earthquake on April 18th and the massive fires that followed, the Navy vessel USS Chicago handled an outward flow of messages in Morse code from San Francisco to Yerba Buena Island, thence to Mare Island and onward to the nationwide system of landline connections. The fires also destroyed the wireless station PH in the Palace Hotel, and it was reestablished at nearby Russian Hill. Marconi engineers warned that their Atlantic Coast wireless station was endangered by cliff erosion, and the transmission towers operated by Pacific Wireless on Mount Tamalpais near San Francisco were felled by a jealous competitor. On January 1st, the Canadian-born Reginald Fessenden established wireless communication from his new station at Brant Rock, 2 kilowatts on 100 kilohertz, with his equally new stations at Micronahish in Scotland. But this Scottish station was destroyed in a storm in December. On December 21st, 1906, Reginald Fessenden, presented a public demonstration of his wireless equipment with an experimental broadcast before an invited group of local dignitaries. This event is definitely and clearly chronicled in the verified details of history. In question, though, are Fessenden's touted Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve broadcast from this station a few days later. Much evidence has been piled up both for and against Fessenden's subsequent claims that he did indeed make these two intentional radio broadcasts as historical firsts. However, several maritime historians provide an item of information that does not seem to get quoted by researchers delving into the Fessenden controversy. These maritime historians state that the wireless operator aboard the new American passenger liner Kroonland heard Fessenden's Christmas Eve broadcast while out in nearby Atlantic waters. It is true, the Kroonland report could be revisionist history, but further research might also reveal the veracity of this claim. A postcard dated June 14, 1906, shows the Lee DeForest wireless station at 42nd Broadway in New York, and it contains the handwritten message aboard steamer on ocean which just received messages about weather reports by wireless. This card might almost qualify as an early QSL. On November 1st, the Christchurch International Exhibition in New Zealand opened at Hagley Park with 400 acres of international displays and exhibits from all around the world. This Christchurch exhibition was visited by 2 million people, citizens and international visitors. Before closure on April 15th of the following year, 1907, it should be remembered that the total population of New Zealand itself was only 1 million at the time. 2 Marconi representatives, Captain Walker and engineer Dowsett, established 2 wireless stations, one at the Christchurch exhibition in Hagley Park and the other at a distance several miles away. Newspapers in both Australia and New Zealand announced in advance that a wireless exhibit would be staged at the Christchurch International Exhibition. 2 early experimenters in Australia were Mr. C.P. Bartholomew and Mr. E.F.G. Joly, both of whom constructed their own equipment. Bartholomew lived in the Sydney suburb of Mossman, and Joly set up 2 wireless stations in 2 houses, 1 mile apart in the country town Marlborough, 100 miles northwest of the state capital, Melbourne. There was also an experimental set of wireless equipment on board of a local steamer at sea between Mount Nelson and Tasman Island, off the coast of Tasmania. The big wireless event in Australia during the year 1906 was the 2-way transmission of signals between Victoria and Tasmania, a distance of 150 miles across Bass Strait, and that story is scheduled for presentation here in Wavescan a few weeks from now. You are listening to Wavescan. Richard Koff and John Figliosi, co-chairs of the Winter SWL Festival, are pleased to announce that arrangements are now set for the 27th Annual Winter SWL Festival, scheduled for March 14th and 15th of 2014 at the DoubleTree Guest Suites, Philadelphia West in Pennsylvania. Early registration fees will remain as they were in 2013 through the month of January. As an incentive to register early, we strongly urge you to do so, as fees will increase for those registering February 1st and later. Single and double rooms are available at a special $99 rate, including breakfast, and can be reserved with DoubleTree by phone at 610-834-8300 using the event code Winter SWL Fest. The special $99 hotel rate may not be available after February 14th, so it is best to book early. For more information and links to paper and online registration for the hotel and the event itself, visit the SWL Fest website at www.swlfest.com. Those without web access will find a registration form in the January issue of the NASWA Journal. The registration form can also be obtained by sending a self-addressed stamped envelope to Winter SWL Fest, P.O. Box 3292, Allentown, PA 18106. Repeat, Winter SWL Fest, P.O. Box 3292, Allentown, PA 18106. Now we go to Henry Umarhay in the Philippines with his DX report for January.
Happy New Year, everyone. To our dear shortwave listeners, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the January 12th edition of the Philippine DX News. This is report number 83. I'm Henry Umaday in Bacolod City, Negros Occidental, Central Philippines. Glad to be back and thank you for listening. First, let me thank our DXer friends for sending the reception reports and for keeping in touch. Mr. Nobuya Kato in Kanagawa, Japan. Mr. Takuji Sahara in Tokyo, Japan. Mr. Yegal Brunger in Ochtrup, Germany. Mr. Andreas Mon in Koswig, Germany. Mr. Haring Haynes in Kappenbergs, Austria. Mr. Tim Breyer in Silangon, Malaysia. Mr. Bikram Kishwala in United Kingdom. And Mr. Satoshi Wakisaka in Osaka, Japan. Thank you very much. Reception lags for December 2013. December 1, All India region 15410 in English from Bangalore at 11:38. SI rating 4 for December 1, Radio Australia on 12085 in English from Shepparton at 14:43 UTC. SI rating 4 for December 1, World Harvest Radio T8WH on 11980 in English from Palau at 14:53 UTC. SI rating 4 for December 1, Adventist World Radio on 11955 in Turkish at 14:55 UTC. SI rating 3 December 8, Voice of America on 11750 in English at 12:17. SI rating 5 December 8, Radio Kuwait on 11815 in Bangla at 1600 UTC. SI rating 4 for December 8, Adventist World Radio on 15215 in English from Guam at 1600. SI rating 5 December 8, Radio New Zealand International from Rajitaki in English on 9765. 1600. SI rating 4. December 8, KBS World Radio on 9640 in English at 1600. SI rating 4 for December 10, Radio Thailand on 9390 in English from Modantani at 12:35 UTC. SI rating 4 for December 14, Adventist World Radio on 17540 in Filipino from Guam at 10:42. SI rating 5 December 14, Radio Exterior de España on 11910 in Spanish from Noblejas at 13:49 UTC. SI rating 4 for December 14, Radio Veritas Asia on 15320 in Filipino from Palawig at 13:49 UTC. SI rating 4 and December 14, Trans World Radio KTWR on 15160 in Filipino from Guam at 12:05. SI rating 4. We have a special QSL card just for you. For your reception report, please send 1 IRC International Reply Coupon or 2 US dollar. Return postage will be greatly appreciated. And friends, if you want to get the transcript of today's Pilipinas DX News and see our QSL card series, please visit http://filipinasdx.wordpress.com. That's http://filipinasdx.wordpress.com. Follow us also on Facebook, www.facebook.com/FilipinasDX. Or you may want to send us your comments, suggestions, reception logs, and informations to filipinasdx@yahoo.com. That's PILIPINASDX for filipinasdx@yahoo.com. This has been Henry Umaday for Wavescan in Bacolod City, Negros Occidental, Central Philippines, saying mabuhay at maraming salamat po.
We end today's program with music from Malaysia. Thanks for listening to Wavescan, the international DX program from Adventist World Radio, researched and written in Indianapolis by Dr. Adrian Peterson. Tribute to shortwave next week, WYFR Part 7, The Wartime, Years and Beyond, European Perspective, and our Bangladesh DX report. If you would like a Wavescan QSL card, send your reception report to P.O. Box 29235, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46229, USA, or by email to wavescan@awr.org. I'm Michael Mendez at WRMI in Miami. Until next week, good listening.